I mean, I thought I was prepared, for anything in my life after that. I was never so scared in my life because this thing came across the creek like nothing and chased us the whole 2 miles back. And I tell you one thing, I can honestly tell you a Bigfoot is scary. They don't give off orbs. They're not, friendly. At least this one sure wasn't. And I will say one thing. I only turned around like maybe 2-3 times during that whole run back to trying to get to the car. It was running between 2 legs and 4 legs. Now, have you guys ever heard that from other people?
You want to take that one, Darrell?
I haven't heard that from other people, but I really haven't talked to a lot of people like Tobe has about, their encounters with Bigfoot, where they're upright or they get down on all fours and upright. So you'd probably know more about that.
Well, at the property, which we'll talk about here soon, the Al Moon Lab is what we ended up calling this place. It was Darrell's property and his wife Cindy. We did find on 2 occasions what looked like knuckle prints. One was dried up dirt on the pavement in front of the main shop, and the other one was over by one of the cedar fences that looked like it had been popped off. And I think that was the night that we heard a whoop when we did a night walk. We never saw any evidence of that. If you ask me, they can do a lot more than run on their knuckles and feet. And it's way more of a puzzle than how they physically move. And, it's a very ambiguous situation here.
I don't know if they use their arms for added speed, gain speed. I don't know. It was really a strange situation. I also had I can't think of his name right now, but he is in Canada, like the #1 folk singer. And he was on my show here about a year ago. And the same thing, him and his dog. He has a farm. He's like about 1.5 miles from a forest. And he likes going to the forest with his dog on a trail. And then he saw a Bigfoot, the first one he ever saw. And the thing decided to come after him and his dog. And what he noticed was the same thing I noticed. It was running at really high speed, and it would drop down to 4s and back up to, it would kind of like rotate back and forth. And that I've heard from a couple people through the years. So that kind of, stabilized my situation. I can honestly tell you, my friend was with me. He just got done serving his internship. He's opening a practice in Puyallup, Washington. His father was a Superior Court judge in Pierce County. His brother is a high-profile criminal attorney in Tacoma. So, just a little bit about him and me. We saw what we saw. And I'll tell you what, I was never so scared in my life than that day when that happened. But I will tell you this, I was also so stupid not having any bear spray, because we drove after we got away from the thing, and it chased us all the way up to the car, by the way, that when we did get away, we drove about 15-20 miles away from there, and we ran into a little store, and we were really shook up, and we went in the store, and the owner of the store noticed we were really shook up, and he kept saying, well, what happened? And did you see a giant bear or something? And we said, no, we saw a Bigfoot. And he said, yes, there's Bigfoot in the area. But what he also told us, a week before that, a guy and his wife went out hiking. And his wife, I guess, hurt herself, so he went to get help. And by the time he got back with the authorities to help his wife was half eaten by a bear. So, I mean, I always warn people, if you go out, because I've had some people say they go deep in the woods and they don't have any protection at all other than a pocket knife or a little short knife. It's not so much you have to worry about a Bigfoot, it's everything else that could be out there. That's all I tell people. I mean, you got to be smart. I really got smart after that.
Yeah. I worry about other people a lot more than I worry about animals.
Darrel and I have had a chance to kind of ingratiate ourselves in the phenomena. Darrel, in my opinion, is a long-term witness or one of these, what I'm calling extended experiencers of a place where they come and interact with homeowners. And so that was really what I focused in on after 2007. I started to seek out people that were experiencing this on their property as not habituators as much as just people that witnessed activity, experienced behavior, learned possibly a culture, a language, a family units. And I would hear stories like yours, Gary, on and off. Of course, they were largely roadside crossings or people that pushed beyond the forest limits too hard, perhaps. And then sometimes not, sometimes chased out of the woods or chased, for whatever reason. But for the most part, meeting someone like Darrel was a 1 in a million chance, just based upon the fact that he was a recent retiree in a hot spot, which I knew pretty darn well, which was only 20 minutes, 15 minutes from my back door. And so when I found out, Darrel was game to look into this mystery, and, I'd kind of been out of the game for a while at that point. This would have been 2017. We kind of just met at his house, had a cup of coffee, and talked like the three of us are talking. And then eventually that turned into Darrel inviting me on a deer hunt above his house where he drew a tag from. And that would have been March 30th, 2018. That was actually Good Friday. And so we were doing like a Good Friday hunt. And why don't you take it from there, Darrel?
Oh, yeah. I had drawn an elk tag, which is an extended elk tag here in Oregon that goes until April 31st or somewhere in there. But anyways, so we were just kind of driving up these old logging roads looking for elk, and we come around the turn, and here's this side of the road, and it's the red clay up there around here up in the woods. And we come around the turn, and I think Tobe says, "Hold it for a minute." And I stopped and kind of looked over there on the bank, and there was these two giant round marks in the bank. So you want to tell the rest, Tobe?
Well, I was driving. I was riding shotgun there. Darrel was, I think, in your new little squatchy 4-wheeler, and the hunt had kind of gone poorly. But I knew that we were Bigfooters at heart, so we were going to throw two things in at once. And Darrel had mentioned he saw some possible tree structures. There's lots of reports in this area of them showing themselves day and night, large groups, small groups, individuals. It just goes back on and on in the town of Cottage Grove about Bigfoot stuff. So there were these two, looked like a basketball had bounced in the red clay about 2 feet off the gravel. And so we hopped out, started rolling film, and there was these 4 to 5 inch deep pockets in the red clay that had hair striations. And they looked pretty wide. They looked pretty deep. They looked like hairy knees had dipped into the ground. And at that time, I was hosting a podcast. I still am. It was a live event that we were doing at that time at a little bar in Cottage Grove. And I thought, this would be cool. These guys are into Bigfoot. I'm into Bigfoot. Let's cast these impressions, and it'll just be, our due diligence on film, and we'll show these people, how to cast something, even if it's nothing. So we treated it like, as close as we could to a forensic area. We ran down to the dollar store, grabbed what we needed because it was late at night by the time we were going to get back there. Darrel's wife, Cindy, joined us, which was kind of way out of her comfort zone, but she was, she helped out, so did Darrel. And we ended up extracting, I don't know, what do you think, Darrel, 4 or 5 hairs, and then putting those in an envelope, gloved up, of course, with the clean tweezers. And we thought, we'll just treat this whole chain of custody just the way it should be. And because I had already kind of been down this road before, let's put it that way, back in 2012. And I was like, all right, this is what we got to do. And for the most part, we did a pretty good job. We ended up pulling out these, what I suspect are giant knees of a hominid of some kind, and they're huge. The hair also got sent up to a lab by a gal named Cindy Dosen, and she works for the Olympic projects. I think she has veterinary skills. I don't think she's actually a licensed vet, but she has a lab. And so we sent 1.5 hairs, including one with a root, and she joined us for this live event that we did in Cottage Grove. And so just picture an old-fashioned bar filled with, locals of Cottage Grove. And then I think Ron Moorhead was there. And Cindy Dosen pops up on the big screen and says, you guys most likely have Sasquatch hair. And she said, I think you have maybe the 6th hair out of 200 or some samples I've looked at that, have the attributes of a human but are not human. And she went through the list of reasons why in her hominid enigma report. And anyway, it blew Darrel's mind. It blew my mind. We had the knees sitting right there on the deck in the bar. And from there, it was just like, okay, what next? Who do we have to? What expert should we bring in to look at these knees? Well, that took some time. We never really got the eyes on them we wanted. But while we were waiting, I'm still living, 15 minutes down the road from Darrel, and he's got these knees in his garage. And that's when things start to get interesting. Now, you have to remember, Darrel is brand new to this area. Like, he just moved in like a couple months ago, and now he's maybe got Bigfoot knees sitting in his garage. And, and he's got this brother that's a Bigfooter, and he's like, yeah, right. Everybody's like, yeah, right. You're doing a show on Bigfoot. You find what? You think you found Bigfoot knees? And so we're like, well, we don't know. I mean, you got to see these things. And so they just kind of sat there. And why don't you take it from there, Darrel?
Okay. Yeah, I had actually just had a new shop built on the property. It was about an acre out in the country. And so we had these knees in there, and all kinds of crazy, weird stuff started happening. But to go back to when we first found them, I'd been hunting in the Sierra Nevadas for over 30 years. I hunted up here for 5 years before this. And I know every animal in the woods. I know what their prints are. I tracked. I learned tracking in the scouts. I've been in the woods. I'm a guy that goes in the woods and knows what's going on. And this was the weirdest thing you'd ever see on the side of the road. Like someone got mad at their little brother and grabbed him out of the back seat of the truck and pounded his head in the ground twice. That's what it looked like.
Interesting.
And it was crazy. I mean, and we're back in the woods. I mean, this is not where people go. We had to go. I had 4-wheel drive. You don't take your Honda Civic out there.
Well,
so, anyways,
you wouldn't want to.
And then we cast them. No, you wouldn't want to. And so we cast them and put them in this new shop. So it was probably, I don't know, maybe a week at the most. I come out. The shop had brand new automatic electric door openers on it, heavy duty, 12-foot doors for RV. And I come out in the morning. My wife goes to work about 6. I come out. The doors are open on the shop, brand new. And I'm like, what the heck? I thought we'd been robbed, we're out in the sticks here. And here's this muddy footprint of some kind of shoe that nobody on earth knew what it was, going right over to the knee prints and not leaving the shop. So you can take it from there, too.
Well, hey, guys, we got to hold on to that because in about 1 minute we have to go a break for the radio station for 3 minutes. So, this is interesting what you have said so far. And knees. Now, when we're talking knees, is this a cast of knees or actual knees?
No, this is a plaster impression of 2 giant knees, a single casting, so a huge blob of plaster dipping down in the clay, and then we pop out what look like impressions of knees.
Interesting. Well, anyway, if you guys want to just hold on,
we have hair coming out of them.
Yeah, we got to take a break. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio, and we're talking Bigfoot here tonight.